Welcome to this Wisel Microsoft Excel tutorial. In this video we'll cover the sort and sort by functions. So the video is all about how to sort data using functions. We'll kick off with a simple example of sorting a single column of values, and then look at how to sort the values in one column by the values in a different column. We'll show how to return multiple columns from both the sort and sort by functions using dynamic arrays, and then we'll look at how you can control the sort order in either ascending or descending order. We'll look at how you can sort by multiple columns using the sort by function, and then to wrap up the video, how to sort columns horizontally rather than rows vertically. So let's get started. For this example, we'll be using a list of the top 10 highest grossing movies. I'll drop a link in the video description so you can download the same file and then follow along with me through the video if you'd like to. For the first example, I'd like to return just a list of the film titles sorted alphabetically. And I've got two functions I can use to do that, sort or sort by. We'll start with the simpler of the two functions, sort, so I'll head over here to cell I3 and then begin a new formula by writing equals sort and then open up some round brackets. You can see from the tooltip here that the sort function has 4 separate parameters, but there's only one compulsory parameter, which is array. It's the only one not listed in square brackets. Array is a reference to the range of cells containing the values you want to sort. So in this case, I'm going to reference cells B3 down to B12, close the round brackets, and then hit enter to return a spilled array containing the names of all the films sorted in ascending alphabetical order. If you're not familiar with spilled arrays, that's going to be quite a big feature of this video. Both the sort and sort by functions return spilled arrays, and we do have a separate video which explains how these work. So if you need a bit of a primer on how spilled array formulas work, then that's a good place to start. But there we go, there's our very basic first example to return a single column sorted in ascending order. We can achieve exactly the same results using the sort by function, although it requires a tiny little bit more effort. Let's head back to cell I3 and then hit the delete key to clear the formula and therefore the rest of the spilled array as well. And then we'll generate a new formula by saying equals sort by and then open up some round brackets. You can see from the tooltip that there are two compulsory parameters this time, array and by array 1. So to make the sort by function sort a single column, we need to reference the array of cells we're going to sort in the first place, followed by a comma, and then the list of cells that those ones will be sorted by. So I want to sort cells B3 to B12 by the values in cells B3 to B12. So the slightly annoying thing here is we have to reference the same range twice. But that's the entire formula, and if we hit enter, we'll get another spilled array returning exactly the same results. Before we look at some of the more interesting features of these two functions, I think it's worthwhile spending a little time making it easier for us to reference the columns in our table. So that rather than having to use these cell references, we can use the column names to reference the data instead. To do this, I'm going to create a set of named ranges using the column headers that already exist in my worksheet. So I'm going to select cells A2 down to F12, so that's all the data and all of the column headers. And then from the Formulas tab in the ribbon, I'm going to head to the Create From Selection button. There's also a keyboard shortcut we could have pressed there as well. So when I choose Create From Selection, I'm going to use the labels sitting in the top row of my selection. So I'm going to uncheck the right column box so that I have only the top row box selected. And then if I click OK, that's going to generate a name to refer to each column of values. You can find these names in several places. You'll find them in the name box in the top left-hand corner of the worksheet. So if I click on that drop-down list there, you'll find you can select the name of a column and highlight all of the data in that column. You'll also find those names listed in the Name Manager, so should you need to modify any of your range names, then the Name Manager tool in the Formulas tab of the ribbon allows you to delete or modify any existing range name. You can also then use those range names in your formulae. So if I head back to cell I3 and just clear the contents by pressing the delete key, I'm going to say equals sort, open some round brackets, but rather than selecting the cells to feed in the cell references, I'm going to start typing in the word title. And we should find that the title field or the title named range appears in our IntelliSense list, and I can use the arrow keys to scroll down to highlight it, and then hit the tab key to type in the rest of that word. If I then close the parentheses and hit enter, I'll find that I've generated a new formula, but making it a little easier to read this time, I think, rather than having to reference the cells by cell reference. One advantage of the SORTBY function is that you can sort one column of values using the values in any other columns. So for example, let's say I wanted to return only the film titles, but that they were sorted in ascending order of the year that they were released. To do that, I'm going to clear the content of cell I3 again, and I'm going to say equals SORTBY, and the array that I want to sort and the values I want to return are the values of the title column. So I'm going to reference my title named range, followed by a comma, and then for the by array, I'm going to reference the year column. So I'll find a named range in my list called year, and if I then close the parentheses and hit enter, I'll return the same list of film names, but this time sorted by the year in which they were released. You can use the sort function to sort the values of one column by the values of another, but the limitation is that both columns must be included in the returned array. So from this point on, let's start looking at how we can return multiple columns of data from each of our two functions. To help with this, I'm going to create a new range name that refers to the entire set of data, so everything from cell A3 down to F12. I'm going to select that data, and then in the name box in the top left-hand corner of the worksheet, I'm going to type in my own range name. I'm going to call this one movie list. Now, when you enter range names manually, you need to make sure you don't include spaces. And there are some other disallowed characters, such as $signs, for example. You can't use those in your named ranges. The best policy is to stick to letters and numbers, and then you must press enter to create that name. So once you've created your movie list range, and it appears in this list, you can then reference that in your sort and sort by functions. So let's head back to cell I3 and first of all clear the contents. And then I'm going to go to cell H3 this time, and I'm going to say equals sort by. So we'll basically create the same formula. I want to create a list of all the films sorted by the year that they were released in. So with the sort by function, I need to refer to my movie list named range, followed by a comma, and then a reference to the column containing the values I want to sort by. So in this case, I'm going to reference my year column. I can then close the parentheses and hit enter, and I'll return all of the data from the movie list, where the values are sorted in ascending order of the year column. To do the same thing with the sort function is a little different. If I clear the contents of cell H3, I'll replace the sort by function with the sort function, and I'm going to say sort my movie list. And then the second parameter, this first optional parameter, sort index, is the number of the column in this array that contains the values you want to sort by. So in this case, I have to manually count along 1, 2, 3, 4. Year is the fourth column of my movie list. If I type in the number 4, close the parentheses and hit enter, I'll get the same list sorted in ascending order of year. You can change the sort order for both the sort and the sort by functions. So let's say this time we want to return our list of films sorted so that the most recent one appears at the top of the list. To do that, I'm going to edit the formula in cell H3. So I can either double click on cell H3, or I can click into the formula bar, or I can select cell H3 and press the F2 key. I'm then just going to position my cursor just inside the round brackets after the index number of the column I'm sorting by. Then if I type in a comma, that will take me onto the sort order parameter. So you can see that I can control the sort order either in ascending order using the number 1, or in descending order using the number -1. So I'm going to choose -1 for my sort order, and then enter this formula, and we'll see the same list appears again, this time sorted so the most recent film appears at the top of the list. You can do the same thing with the sort by function, of course, so this time I'm going to delete the contents of cell H3, and then say equals sort by. If I can spell sort by, that would help. There we go. And I'm going to sort my movie list. I'm going to sort it by the year list. And then I'm going to add the third parameter using exactly the same technique, -1 for descending. If I enter that formula, once again we return the same results. One big advantage that the sort by function has at this point is the ability to sort by multiple columns at the same time. So for the next example, I'd like to sort this list, first of all in ascending order of genre. Then when there are multiple films with the same genre, I want those sorted alphabetically by certificate. And when there are multiple films with the same combination of genre and certificate, I want those sorted alphabetically by title. So to make that work, let's clear the contents of cell H3 first of all, and begin with a new formula equals sort by movie list, and our first array that we're going to sort by is the genre array. I want that sorted in ascending order, so I'll enter the number 1. Then you'll hopefully see that the tooltip starts to expand its list of parameters at this point. The more arguments I provide, the more parameters appear in the list. So having sorted by one column, I'm then going to add a comma and set my second sort array to be the certificate. And I want those sorted in ascending order as well, so I'll enter the number 1 for that. Then another comma, and then I can finally sort by title. And then again sort those in ascending order. If I then close the round brackets and hit enter, I'll get my list of films sorted. So first of all, alphabetically by genre. When there are multiple films in the same genre, they're sorted in ascending order of certificate. And then when there are multiple films with the same genre and certificate, they're sorted alphabetically by title. For the final example, I'd like to show that you can also sort data by columns instead of by rows, but the data in our movies list doesn't really lend itself to that. So let's head over to the second worksheet here called Sales, which is really just a table of random numbers, representing imaginary sales figures for Wise Owl widgets. So we've got these figures tracked over 5 separate years, and each quarter of those 5 years. What I'd like to do is in this second table here, spit out the same results, but sorted so that the most successful quarter in terms of sales comes first. So whichever column has the highest total value, quarter 2, should appear first, and then we'll go in descending order from there. It'll help again if we have a couple of range names. So I'm going to create a named range for cells B2 to E8, and I'm going to call this widget sales. And then I'm going to select just the total row by itself independently, cell B8 to E8, and call that widget totals. Okay, so having done that, I'm going to head over to cell H2 and say equals sort, and then I'm going to reference my widget sales table. The sort index this time, I want to reference the number of the row containing the values that I want to sort the columns by. So in the overall table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7th row contains the values that control the sorting. So my sort index is going to be number 7. The sort order is descending, so that's -1. And then the final parameter here, the by col parameter, I want to set that to true. If I then close the round brackets and hit enter, I'll see quarter 2 appearing first, down to quarter 1 appearing last. We can do the same thing using the sort by function, but I think it's a little easier with the sort by function. If I get rid of the values in cell H2 and say equals sort by, and then I want to sort my widget sales array by the values in the widget totals array, and say that I want that in descending order. If I close the parentheses, I don't have to indicate whether I'm sorting by columns or rows with the sort by function. The array that you use to provide the sort values determines whether it's sorted by row or by column. So hitting enter here means we get the same results, just I think a little more easily than with the sort function.